Hello, everybody. Welcome into this latest edition of the Warchant Top 40, numbers 25 through 21. I am joined by our esteemed panel, 2/3 of Seminole headlines, also 99% of the brain power behind the writing over at warchant.com.
Yeah.
Corey Clark, senior writer, lead writer for warchant.com. Managing editor, Ira Schofel, who pulled Corey Clark from the clutches of a local newspaper to bring him here to warchant.com. That was kind of brought me from Alabama, out of purgatory. Thank you, Ira. I will say thank you. I don't know if Corey thanks you enough for bringing.
Ira should be thanking both of us for what we've done for him.
Every night when my head hits the pillow, Corey. Every night.
I figured.
Hit the thumbs up, everybody. What we're going to go through, again, 25 through 21 of the Warchant Top 40, the original Top 40. These are the 40 most impactful players voted on by everybody at warchant.com. So not just us three, but we'll tell you our opinions on things. But we're going to give you the full rundown of how the all votes shook out. We're going to start at number 25, which I don't know, guys, what this says about the trajectory of this season, but we have a true freshman wide receiver, Jaylen Box, checking at 25 on this list, and we all feel pretty good about him. I've got him at 22. Corey has him at 27. Ira, you have him at 20. I'm split in the middle, so nobody wants to hear a guy that's in the middle. Corey, thoughts on 27? Maybe not nearly as bullish on Boggs as our guy Ira.
I am. He was kind of the talk of the spring. He had, the one spring scrimmage we were allowed to watch. He was very impressive. It's just that the reason I have him so low is that I don't think he's going to be ahead of Deuce Robinson or Squirrel White in opportunities. I'm not quite sure he'll even beat out LaWayne McCoy or somebody like that, although he certainly has an opportunity to. But I think with the tight end position and the two starting wide receivers, I just don't know how many opportunities the number 3 wide receiver is going to get in a Gus Malzahn offense. But I will say this time next year, he might be number 4 on this list. Like, he might be so good as a true freshman and put up, even in limited opportunities, that by this time next year, he will be like the burgeoning breakout star of the 2026 team.
You got him in your top 20, Ira. How excited are you for Jaylen Box? How much of it was what you saw at that scrimmage, I guess, married up into what we heard from every time, it seems like, right, Ira? Every single player we spoke to at some point has mentioned Jaylen Box impressing them.
Well, first of all, listen, Corey's an idiot, and we all knew that. We knew that before we started this, but, this just confirmed it.
I always love these videos. They're always the highlight of my summer.
No, I think 20 was 20's high. That's a super high for a freshman. And just thinking about it, it kind of makes me think, well, I get a little carried away, but no, it's I think it is a combination of the things we heard, the things we saw at the one scrimmage we were able to attend. And then also, man, I go back to, again, I'll give credit where it's earned and deserved. Dominic Robinson, our analyst at warchant.com, former Florida State football player, father of Deuce Robinson. He took those receivers out for a workout when he came into town, when Deuce got here back and the newcomers arrived here in December and January. And D-Rob told us at the time, he said, listen, man, this kid's a dude. He's the real deal. And there's a chance he may end up being, and he hadn't seen, some of the other guys, LaWayne McCoy and some of those guys, but based on what he had seen, he thought, Jaylen Box might be the number 3 receiver. I think the spring kind of backed that up. He is super impressive. A guy that will go get the ball. One of the things we saw in the scrimmage that some of us were able to attend was, he's a guy that will go get the football. Florida State's wide receivers last year did not do that. They might catch it if it was thrown right in their breadbasket uncovered. They might, but they weren't going to go get the ball the way a Keon Coleman goes gets the ball. Not comparing him to that, but those kinds of receivers, the guys that go win those 50-50 balls, I think Jaylen Box has that potential. I'm sure he'll have some growing pains. It's a lot to ask him early in the season against Alabama as a true freshman to do what he did in high school when he set all those records. But yeah, man, I think between the talent, the desire, the dog in him, guys, I think Jaylen Box is going to be, I think at the end of the year, I think it's going to be closer to where I am than where Corey is. But I'm really glad that we have him as high as we do overall.
Number 24, let's go to defense, Edwin Joseph. He's not on my ballot. He is 14th on Ira's ballot, 19th on Corey's. I don't know if it's like reading the tea leaves, but I just feel like when we get to speak to players after practice, to the best of my knowledge, usually we're not requesting players. Usually it's, here's who you're going to get. So you figure these are the players that the coaches like the way they're practicing, have big plans for them. We never heard from Edwin Joseph, and I thought he did have some kind of bright flashes last year, but maybe he didn't impress this new staff during spring. We spoke to KJ Kirkland. I think like Kirkland and Shaheem Brown might be that starting kind of safety duo, so I don't know where I would put number 3, number 4 safety on my board. Which one of you want to eviscerate me for leaving him off my ballot in entirety?
Well, I'll just say real quick, I would say Earl Little's going to be the other safety if he's going to ACC Media Days. He's not in competition with KJ Kirkland. That's his spot. So unless
you play slot cornerback, how does the defense work? We're thinking when it comes to this.
That's the question. Where does Edwin Joseph fit in, Ira?
That's where I think he's going to be. He's going to be your nickel corner because that's what he took that over midway through last season as the top backup, which is why they moved Earl Little to safety last year, and then he had the spring. Now this defense is a little bit different. I don't know if you guys, who was it? Was one of the players, one of the recruits? I think maybe was talking about, or no, it was the USC transfer. That I can't remember his name.
Boatwright.
Boatwright. When he talked about Tony White liking 3 high safeties. So when I watch stuff from Nebraska, it's kind of hard to tell that safety rover nickel corner role. Like there's some overlapping there. It's hard to know exactly what the roles are, but I do think Edwin Joseph's more like the nickel corner, and Earl Little's going to be the other safety. But he's definitely in that mix of those top 5, 4 or 5 guys.
And I think Edwin Joseph is on my list that high, not because of really anything he did during the season last year. It's just watching him routinely in practice. Mm-hmm. Like I thought he was a really good practice player. He was pretty dynamic, actually. And it's not like he was bad when he got in the game, but he didn't play a ton last season. So people might wonder, why is he in the top 20? The guy makes plays, man, and they talk about him making plays. And it wasn't just a 1 or 2 time thing. It felt like very consistently over the course of the season. So, maybe there wasn't enough role for him last year because of the corners they did have on the team. But I think out of those guys, out of that class, Ira and Aslan, I think maybe he's been the most impressive to me, the DBs out of his class so far, even though none of them have really accomplished a ton yet.
And if I could just jump in there real quick, Aslan, sure. I think there's 2 things here. Not only just those practice plays, but also special teams. Like that's where he's made his biggest plays. Like he's the guy that flashes on special teams. He's a heat-seeking missile coming down the field. He's a football player. The question, and I think part of the reason, Aslan, you were maybe a little skeptical, and some other people are as well, is the whispers you hear is that he maybe didn't always buy in immediately to everything the coaching staff was asking, especially the former coaching staff, the former defensive coaches. Well, there's been a change there. And it sounds like from everything we're hearing around the program during the summer months, especially, is that he really has taken that next step to not just being a guy that's got physical ability, but also is doing everything they ask him to do. It's kind of being like not just a healthy, but a real productive, positive member of the team at this point. So I do think there's a lot of excitement about him going into the season. But to your guys' point, there's not a lot on paper, certainly on the defensive side of the ball.
We go to 23. We stay on the defensive side of the ball, and we stay on the back end. And to your point, Corey, there's a lot of guys that came with Edwin Joseph, KJ Kirkland, Conrad Hussey, as well as Quandarius Jones, who checks in at 23 on this list. Ira has him right there at 23. You have him at 20. I have him at 29. Always been intrigued, Ira, by just his size. I mean, he was listed as a recruit at 6'3". I think Seminoles.com has him listed at 6'2". He looks every bit of 6'2". Just it feels like you don't see a lot of that kind of body type. We didn't get to speak to him during spring either, so maybe I should apply both of my my theories to this. But he just seems to have a little bit more upside physically than a guy like Edwin Joseph. That's why I have him at 29 on my list. You nailed it, though, right at 23. What do you think about Quandarius?
Yeah, I think coming out of, his freshman year, I think we were all thinking, okay, he might be a superstar because of that length and some of the plays he made. Going back to that 2023 season, he had that return block kick for a touchdown. I mean, he's got all the physical athletic ability. Last season, I thought was a little disappointing when he did get forced into action. I think late in the season when Fentrell Cypress got banged up, he started playing more. Didn't seem like he did great in that role. And then in the spring, they changed defensive systems, obviously, with Tony White. And instead of playing so much man, they switched to playing more zone. And it didn't seem like you were hearing a lot of huge things out of practice. Again, we weren't there, but you heard a lot more about Jabril Rawls. You heard a lot more about some other guys, and you weren't hearing a ton about him. And then they went out and got a new cornerback in Jeremiah Wilson out of the portal. So it feels like maybe he's dropped a little bit in terms of like my perception of what he could be. But from raw physical ability, yeah, man, he's the guy. When people came to if you come to a Florida State football practice and you look at all the DBs, he's the first guy I think that'll catch your eye.
Corey, has Quandarius caught your eye at any of the practices that you've watched, or does it feel kind of like a crowded sort of a situation back there? Although you have him at a pretty nice spot here on the list.
Yeah, I think that's just a default. Like, I assume starting August, he is penciled in for me as the opposite starting cornerback, but not anywhere close to concrete. That is not confirmed at all. That is not something that he's wrapped up. Jeremiah Wilson is one of the starting corners. That other one is up for grabs in my mind. I just think he might have a little bit of an inside track because it is his third year. He has been playing corner, and last year he did get to play a little bit, but he was also behind two good guys. So it wasn't like he was behind two scrubs. I mean, he was behind a third-round pick and a 3-year starter in the ACC. So he didn't get on the field much, and it kind of, tainted my view of him because I was just expecting a breakout year, but he really didn't have an opportunity to have a breakout year. That said, when he did play, he wasn't all that impressive to me. He is one of the 3 or 5 fastest players on the entire team, and he does have that size, so there's definitely tools there. But it's kind of now or never for Quandarius, I think. I mean, it's his third year. He has a real opportunity to earn a starting spot. He is not being blocked by anyone. So if he doesn't do it now, you wonder if it'll ever happen.
I didn't realize he played 256 snaps last year. He played a lot of football for Florida State. Started the last 3 games of the season as well. Let's go to offense. And this feels very much like a luxury item for a team that is trying to compete for a national title. But I think we all probably see the playmaking ability, obviously, that Jaylen Lucas is going to bring to this program, guys. And I don't know how many big plays he's going to have, but he feels like maybe the singular best bet to pop off a really big play when you need it, either to ice a game or to get back into the fight. Jaylen Lucas checks in at 22. I have him at 24. Corey, you have him at 18. Ira, you have him at 19. I'll go to you first, Ira. Jaylen Lucas, we didn't get to see a lot about him last year. What are you hoping to see out of him this year?
Yeah, I think the only question really is about the durability, and it seems unfair to say that because he played his first few years in the Big Ten and didn't have any issues with durability. He played return kicks, return punts, caught a ton of passes, ran the football. So he was plenty durable then. Last year, he gets banged up early in the season, so we never really got to see him. I think that was kind of a freak injury, though. I don't think he's a guy that's going to be constantly nicked up. Sometimes you worry about those smaller guys. But he came back really fast. I mean, the recovery was a lot quicker, I think, than they expected. He was able to do everything in the spring. And, he's probably one of the 3 maybe most dynamic players on offense. I mean, he's a threat anytime he touches the football. The question is, like, how many touches is he going to get? He's probably not a guy you put behind, running between the tackles, but he's got that home run ability. So, yeah, I mean, I know Corey loves him as a playmaker as well. He's got that home run threat ability. You just don't know how many bats he's going to get just because you wonder about the durability.
And I think that he's ranked perfectly, Ira, in the sense that I don't think he's going to be a superstar. He's not going to lead this team in touchdowns. But if he has 4 big plays this year, like 3 in a win, like 3 that turn the games, like Aslan said, either like you're back into the fight or you put the game away, that's worthy of being where he's ranked on this. Like, an impactful player isn't just a guy that makes consistent 6 to 8 really big plays a game, because that's not what his life. He's not going to be able to do that. But he might be able to make 2 big plays a month. And if you're making 2 big plays a month and you have 5 touchdowns and 3 of them gave you the lead in the third or fourth quarter, or you pick up a huge first down running out the clock because they couldn't tackle you out in space, those are huge plays where a guy like this, who, I mean, I would guess at most is getting 6 touches a game, maybe. And that's probably inflating it a little bit because they got, they like to run the ball. I don't know how many carries he's going to get ahead of Sawchuk and Cromall, and I also know how many passes he's going to get. But he will get 5 or 6 to 7 touches a game. If he has two or 3 big plays a month, yeah, man, you're living up to – he's doing exactly what he needs to do for this team.
Rounding out 25 through 21, we go to number 21, Adrien Medley, offensive lineman. It'll be interesting to see where he fits on this offensive line. Obviously, on the interior, has played, seems exclusively left guard when he was at UCF under Herb Hand and Gus Malzahn. Richie Leonard actually played mostly left guard when he was at Gainesville last year. I think he played 4 games maybe. I think 3 of them he was at right guard, but then he played left guard at one of those spots. So we'll see how they just want to balance that out ultimately. but I guess we get to the point in this list here where, again, he's 21. Ira, you have him at 35. I have him at 15. Corey, you have him at 30. I just think, and I'll go to you first on this, Corey. I just feel like he's one of your starting offensive linemen. This is going to be an offense predicated on controlling the line of scrimmage, being able to open up some run lanes, wearing down the, I don't know, I should say wearing down the opposition, but this team is better because the offense is going to be better, which is going to be because the offensive line is going to be that much better. So if you have a hand in that and you're playing 600, 700 snaps, well, then by golly, as a starter, I have to find you somewhere in my top 20. So again, I had him at 15. You had him at 30, Corey.
Yeah, I think with him, I do project him to start. They wouldn't have brought him here. I don't think he would have come here to not start. But I mean, who's he going to be battling? Otto, right?
Right.
Like
Rizzy, maybe.
Rizzy, Otto.
Ira might like Rizzy. We'll get to that in a second.
But I don't know that he's so good at that position that if he did get replaced, it would be a huge step back. Do you know what I mean? That's why I have him lower on the list. I mean, you got to have a left guard. Like, they're not going to play with just 4 linemen. So whoever is the left guard is going to be somewhat impactful just because he's on the field. But I don't know that his presence, and he could prove me wrong. He could win the Outland. But I don't know that his presence on this offensive line makes it appreciably better. I do like the fact that he has a relationship with these two coaches. That helps, that they have a guy that they can trust, that knows what he's doing, that they can insert right into the lineup.
Ira, if you've got a guy 35th on your list, I would assume you don't think he's going to start.
It's I'm just torn. I look at it very much the way Corey was just explaining it to me, just explaining it just there, that I don't know what his WAR is. Like, I don't know his wins or above replacement. If somebody else came in and played a left guard, I don't know how much better he is. Now, he did start for most of the last couple of years at UCF, but he's got a very long track record of injuries in college. He didn't play much his first few years. And then when he did play, you look at the PFF grades, they're not amazing. So he played a lot these last couple of years, but it's not like he was putting up big numbers and just kind of blowing people off the football. So I look at the other options they have at guard. They do have Jacob Rizzy, the transfer from Harvard, who, when he played in the second half of last season, I thought he wasn't terrible. I thought he could play a little bit, and now he might get another chance under this new coaching staff to establish himself. Andre Otto is a guy that they really like a lot as well. So I just felt like if he got banged up, because he's got a little bit of a track record with that, I don't know that it's a huge loss. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. But the reasons you would have him higher, familiarity of the offense, no doubt. He played for those guys at UCF his whole career. He knows their offense. That's going to be invaluable. He's also a 7th-year senior, so he's an older dude. He's got that experience. He's been in battles. He's played some really good opponents. So all those things are real positives. I just don't know if you lost him, if it's that big of a deal, because I think you have a couple other guys you feel like aren't much difference physically.
We've already gone long. I don't want to go overtime, but where do you think, if we did it after the fact, where would we have ranked Dimitri Emmanuel in 2022, Corey? Like closer to me, somewhere in the low teens, like 17, 18, or do you think he would have been, in the 20s?
Yeah, he was good in 2022. I think he would have been. I feel
like Dylan Gibbons. I think most people think that Dylan Gibbons was the better of that guard combo, and I think maybe people think that Richie Leonard's the better of the guard combo. So if you're the second banana in this guard combo, but you do start on an effective offense, it just where.
Yeah, and I think Emmanuel and Gibbons, in hindsight, were the way they played in 2022 was one of the big reasons they could run the ball in 2022, and so I would definitely think they're in the teens somewhere because they were starting linemen in the middle of a really good offense or a really good running attack.
All right, that's a wrap for us on this one, 25 through 21. We got more. We're going to be counting down all of these, the top 40. If you've missed it, go back and check our YouTube page for all the ones that we've done. We also have a write-up with some more insight and analysis from everybody on the Warchant staff. We'll talk to you at some point in the future, everybody. In the meantime, check out the Jeff Cameron Show and Warchant.com around the clock, everybody. We've leveraged the networking power of Rivals.com all under one banner for the same price. Check that out. For Ira and Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for watching this edition of Warchant TV. Stay connected to Warchant.com.